Welcome back, my Diamond family. I'm coming to you today talking about domestic violence. I know people think that domestic violence doesn't affect children, but it does. Even infants can be affected from domestic violence. And how would you say? Because of the loud noises and the screaming, the yelling, and the throwing. Babies are sensitive to sound. And when you have loud voices, it scares them and it traumatizes them. And if you have an infant and you're in a family with domestic violence, you see that the infant is crying a lot because they're affected. And today I'm going to talk about some of the behavioral symptoms of children that's affected by domestic violence. What are some of the things that they do or don't do? And it's a shame because everybody is affected by domestic violence. And why does this have to be a way of life? I don't understand. I never understand trying to force people to do what you want them to do. Control them. If they don't do what you said, you beat them. I don't understand that. How can you? How can you? How is it possible to say you love someone 1 minute and cursing them and calling them names and beating them the next? Where is the love in that? That's not love. That's kind of like schizophrenic love. You don't know whether you're in love or you don't know whether you love the person or hate them. And then you go beat them, and then you want to turn around and say you're sorry, and you want them to love you. You want them to be able to make love to you after you beat them. You beat your wife like she's a man. And now it's not only the men that's abusing their partner. You have women that abuse their partners too. They cut them, stab them, throw things at them, curse them, criticize them, belittle them. I mean, and then you wonder why that person doesn't want to be around you. That's why. You kick a dog long enough, he'll run away. You mistreat an animal enough, they will run away. And why do you think if you mistreat a human that they won't run away from you? Nobody wants to be in a situation like that. Then your children, they learn that behavior. Then they go to school and they bully other children. And don't ask your kid why you do that. Look at yourself. Why? Where did they learn that from? They learned it from you, probably. And if they didn't learn it from you, then you buy those violent game systems for the children to play. They have no sense of humanity. They act like they're animals, but I can see why the children exhibit those behaviors, but it's not right. They don't know how to release their stress and their anxiety. So what they do, they turn around and they attack other people. They let their anger out on other children. And that keeps the cycle going and going and going, and that child grow up there and bully and fight. I mean, it's a never ending situation. Violence is not the answer. Go and get some help for you and your family. Ladies, if you living in a home like that, don't don't ignore your children. Get some help for them because they need help. They need help just as much as you. If you don't want to get some help for your children. Please don't leave them in a situation like that. Because you are destroying them and you are raising a new generation of abusers. Okay, let's go over some of the symptoms, the behavior symptoms of children affected by domestic violence. We already said one is excessive crying in infants. Developmental delays. And your kid just not developing at the pace that they should because they live in terror. They live in fear. And they go inside themselves and they try to hide inside themselves and they're not developing. I mean, they're scared to say anything. They're scared to make sounds. They're scared of their parents. They're afraid of their parents. And that's a sad day in America when your child is afraid of you. Yes, they're supposed to respect you, but they're not supposed to fear you. And they're anxious. They're just a nervous wreck. A nervous wreck. They're just waiting for the bomb to fall. They're just a nervous wreck. I mean, they call that PTSD. Wow. And these are children that's going through this. And they have nightmares. They go to sleep and they have nightmares. Or either they can't sleep. They have insomnia because they're afraid to go to sleep. They're afraid of what may happen if they go to sleep. And then if they're lucky enough to go to sleep, the torment and the fear it's in their dreams. It's in their nightmares. So that they can't get the rest they need. Then they develop phobias. You know, they're afraid of everything. They don't want to go outside because they're afraid something happened to them. They don't want to stay inside because they're afraid something will happen to them. Especially when the abusive parents come home, they're scared to come out of their room. They don't want to interact with it because you never know what mood that abuser is in. And they wet the bed, the bedwetters. So if you're living in a violent home and your child wet the bed, don't yell at them, don't scream at them, because you're the reason why. You're the reason why they wet in their beds. You have destroyed your child. You are the reason why they do these things. And it's a shame. And they withdraw from social activities because they don't want anyone to know they live in a situation like that. They don't want other children to be or come over because they're afraid, because they live in a war zone, and they're embarrassed to let other people know how they are living. And they feel helpless, defenseless, which they are. They are helpless and defensive, especially in a situation like that. There's nothing they can do but try to stay out of the way. And that's a shame. You have to feel that way in your household. You can't relax. You can't be at peace. You can't enjoy your family. Because you're afraid of your family, so you can't enjoy them. I mean, you're just counting down the days when you can get out of there. And the sad part about it, when you get old enough to get out of that situation, you become that abuser. You either become the abuser, most guys become the abusers, and most girls that grow up in a situation like that become victims because that's all they see, that's all they know, and they think that it's normal and it's not. And they can't see it's not normal because they are afraid to be around other kids in their families. So they only know what's going on in their house and they think that is normal and it's not. So congratulations, you're raising the next generation of violent, angry people. Hyperactivity, they just can't stay still. Now I worked in the school system, and there were kids that it just couldn't stay still, couldn't focus on one thing. They couldn't concentrate on anything. Their mind drifts. One minute they listening, next minute they off in space somewhere. They poor concentration, and they always have to be fidgeting and moving and doing something. And you look around, other kids not like that, but they are. They can't concentrate long enough to learn anything. So then they start failing in school because they can't concentrate on the work. And then they lose interest in school. Only thing they try to do is just make it through another day. Learning is not a high priority for them. Surviving is. They always in survival mode. So if your kid bringing home bad report cards, ask yourself, why? And if you know you're living in a home full of violence, then that is why. Chronic school absence. They don't want to go to school. They don't want the teacher to question them. They want the teacher to sit and, ask them what's going on in their home. Or they're afraid the other kids want to come over to their house, so they skip school. They just don't care about school. They don't care about socializing with other children. They're always in survival mode. A lot of kids have speech disorder. They stutter. They stutter a lot because they they're afraid, and it causes some psychological stuff in their brain, and they stutter. And they start acting younger than their age. You have a 10-year-old that cry all the time, cry, and they clingy. They cling to the non-violent parent. They're very clingy. And they have they could develop eating disorders. Either they eat too much because food has become a comfort to them. The only time they have joy or peace is when they're eating, and they overeat. And you wonder why you eat so much, because look around your household. What's going on in your household? Something is going on in your household that's affecting your children. And does it always have to be somebody yelling and screaming and beating you, somebody could be molesting them. So look around to see what's going on in your household and get some help for that child, because you know this child is suffering when every time you see them, they stuffing food in their mouth and they getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and then they get oversized, then they go to school and they get bullied for that. So they catching hell at home and they catching hell at school. That's why a lot of kids are starting to commit suicide. The rate of suicide is so high now. I mean, little kids under 10, they're killing themselves because they can't stand it anymore. Because there's no way out for them. The only way out they see is death. And that's a shame. That's a shame. They'd rather be dead than in that kind of situation. I mean, you're cutting your kids' life short. This is supposed to be the happiest time of their lives when they're children, because they have the only responsibility they have, the little chores that they have at home, and going to school. These young years and teenage years are supposed to be the best years of their life, but it's not. Teenagers, I mean, the suicide rate is going up and up. Your children are dying because they're sad and depressed. And in teens, they start drinking. Drinking becomes an escape for them. Drinking and drugs. Most of them start off with marijuana, but some kids start off with harder drugs. It's whatever they can get their hands on, really. Whatever they can get their hands on, they will take, as long as they let them escape from reality. Even if it's just for a little while, they're willing to take it. They just want to disappear. They just want to go away. A lot of them don't necessarily want to die. They just want everything to stop. But the world doesn't stop. It keeps going and going and going. The world run over you. And they resort to drugs, alcohol, sex. It is something else. You know, and you wonder why you see the teenagers acting out. There's a reason. There's a reason for some of them. Some of them just acting out just to be acting out, but a lot of them, there is a reason. There is a reason. And it's a shame. It's a shame. And you have kids that they call and withdraw when you try to touch them. Have you ever tried to touch someone and they jump back? Ask yourself, why? You just want to touch them on the shoulder or shake their hand. You reach your hand out and they withdraw. They withdraw. Why do they do that? They're afraid. They don't know if this will be a touch of love or a touch of violence. So they withdraw from people. They cringe when they're around people. Or maybe they get overly stimulated with touch. That's what happened to children that's been molested. They become very sexual. They crave a touch. You would think it'd be the opposite, but no. They start participating in sexual activities very early, boys and girls. So after listening to that, do you still think domestic violence doesn't affect children? Do you still think that the children will be okay? They will outgrow it? Do you really believe that? Because they don't outgrow it. They don't. Their lives are destroyed, and like they become the second generation of abusers and victims. If you have kids that's a bully at school, that bully people for no reason, I mean, I believe a child should stick up for themselves when other people are attacking them. But if you got a kid that's always attacking, and they bullying people and they criticizing people, they pushing them and trying to hurt them and put them down, then that kid, there's something terribly wrong with your child, and your child needs help. Don't ignore it. Don't look the other way. They need help. So, if you like what I'm talking about, give me a thumbs up. Like this. Give me a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel. Leave a comment and even share it. If you know someone who's in a situation like this and you don't know how to talk to them, share this video with them. And I do have another channel. It's called Rise Up 2720, and we do a lot of commenting on other events and videos. It's not as serious as this channel is. So if you want to have a little fun or laugh, go to the other channel. Rise Up 2720. And until we speak, be the diamond that you are. And have a great day and be blessed.